Hi, I'm Dr. Marcus.
And I'm Charlie, and this is the Mood Booster podcast.
Each week, we share practical tools, tips, and evidence-based advice to help boost your mood, improve your well-being, and find joy in the everyday.
We talk about life's highs, lows, and everything in between, with real stories and reflections from our own journeys.
Rooted in pillars of introspection, connection, and presence, this is the home of well-being and joy.
This episode is on regret, isn't it?
It is. It was a great episode. I actually thoroughly, I always do, but thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
This one's great, guys. Yeah.
We really unpack and get a bit more philosophical about regret and what it means to us. And we also, of course, go into psychological definitions and evidence, but really, work on or discuss what regret means to us.
We talk about whether it's okay to have regrets, even, whether it's okay to want to change your past, or whether it's fine to sit with what's happened and how to go forward as well. And of course, some tools and tips for you guys if you do feel like you have any. Yeah, it's a lovely episode. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone.
Buongiorno.
Welcome back to episode 17.
17. No. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
You got it right. There you go. 17.
17.
17. Episode 17. This episode is on regret.
It is indeed.
Yes.
All about regrets.
Mhm.
No regrets.
We're going to speak a little bit about whether it's okay to have regrets or not. A bit on regret versus remorse as well.
Mm-hmm. What regret means from a psychological perspective, what might cause regret in our brains or cognitively. As always, what the evidence is saying about regret, and even more importantly,
the tools and tips, if you feel like you have these regrets, how you can handle them, what you can tell yourself, and how to go about dealing with regret itself.
Indeed. So let's buckle up. Hope you enjoy.
A very, very exciting episode indeed.
Before we get into that, though,
yes.
How are you?
How am I? Thanks for asking.
How are you?
Thanks for asking. I think we should preface, guys.
Yes.
I think we should preface. This is I know all episodes are technically pre-recording, so they're not live.
They're not live?
Spoiler.
That is...
Spoiler alert.
Loco.
Spoiler alert. Loco.
Es muy loco.
Es muy loco caliente. This episode... It's rather frio, actually.
It's frio. Got my jumper on.
Rather frio. This episode's a slight bit of a pre-recording. I'm on holiday in a couple of weeks' time, aren't I? Going to Croatia.
You are indeed. Living the life.
For a little bit of time.
You're always on holiday.
I would say I'm always on holiday.
Some might say, some of our listeners might say you're always on holiday.
Is that Jason Ham? Some might say. So in order to make sure that we give you the, of course, best content that is, on this planet, here we are recording an episode a little bit earlier than we would like to. Not months apart. We don't agree in batch recording or whatever it might be. We want to deliver you pretty recent stuff.
Fresh.
Pretty fresh off the batch.
Yeah, we like fresh baked goods.
Fresh baked goods, of course, a bakery.
We don't like frozen, thawed, and oven cooked. We like fresh baked.
Not. The fresh baked stuff.
Yeah, fresh baked.
Indeed.
Goes down to your roots of being
organic,
primal, raw.
What other buzzword is it? Raw,
ice bath,
sauna,
grounding,
seed oil. What else?
All of the above. Andrew Tate.
Let's not do that. Let's not go down that avenue. It's just not true. It's not
Regardless, we are metaphors.
I digress. What are we even saying? Yes, so this is a slight pre-recording, only a couple weeks beforehand, but regret is actually something that we've wanted to speak about for a while now.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a really interesting topic. Yeah, as you just said, Felix came to us with the idea, didn't he? Mm-hmm. My younger brother, on whether it's okay to have regrets at all. Reflect a bit on regret, and just to know how we are going. But since I'm answering your question, my week, I think one of the main things I can speak on was yesterday. Little London Fields action. Yeah. So we're in West London, over in Ealing Way, and every so often we go over to London Fields over in East London because there's a fantastic set of calisthenics bars over in the park, and it's just next to Broadway Market, which is, I think, a pretty cool place, full of cafes, restaurants, cool people with bob cuts and like 3/4 length trousers. It's a bit of a weird place, but it's quite cool anyway.
Yeah, we look atrocious in London Fields.
You just look out of place.
You can't go to London Fields unless you have some sort of outlandish item of clothing on or some sort of crazy haircut. Not crazy, but
out there.
Yeah. So
like steampunk-esque.
Just look mundane as heck in London Fields.
Jeans and a t-shirt, go home.
What? Are
Unless
you
you're,
okay?
to be fair, you were wearing a tank top yesterday.
I
so
was wearing a tank
you
top
got a
yesterday
couple points
because my
there from the
shoulders
locals.
are wham.
Okay. Okay, buddy.
Would you not agree?
They are pretty good.
Thank you very
There's more
much.
coming from a place of jealousy.
Yeah, and my arms are wham as well. But you walking around topless because your chest is wham, so swings and roundabouts.
We sound like an absolute. Just walk around flexing our bodies
Yeah,
in front of London
honestly
Fields.
don't know who I think I am because I literally hate all of that sort of stuff. So I sound ridiculous. But yeah, we went to London Fields yesterday.
We did.
Met up with a buddy,
We did.
Dom.
Dom.
Dom Edwards Design. If you want to follow him on Instagram, what
Lovely
a guy.
friend of ours, yeah. Got a coffee.
He's doing some great work.
He is.
In a non-profit. He's got a non-profit organization for
Yeah.
mentoring in people who want to get into the arts or specifically creative arts, which is really nice.
Exactly.
So speaking to him, picking his brains about that one, and then we were doing a workout with him. And then we were just working from there all day, really,
We were,
in the
weren't we?
sunshine,
28 degrees, just working outdoors, barefoot.
outdoors. Got to
It's
see
elite.
our old housemate Nor as well, which is always
We
nice.
did.
Miss her dearly. Miss her dearly. So
Norman.
she lives around there, so got to quickly see her.
Norman Conquest.
But yeah, I think I don't know, just it's always cool going there.
It
I always
is.
love being there, but I always makes me think, do I miss? Is there something that I've missed in my 20s or whatever? But I still am confident in my decision to be where I am. I think I like going there because it's just that it's a day that I can go and come away from. If I lived there, I'm always just yeah. I think the novelty would wear off.
Even if you lived on the outskirts, I do think the novelty would wear off because having lived in Shoreditch, a 10-minute cycle from there, it does get a bit full on.
Yeah.
I was saying to you though, I do like the sort of younger crowd there. I think being around a crowd of your age is quite nice.
Yeah,
It's refreshing.
it is, but I still maintain for me my base, which we spoke about. I think I don't know if we spoke about this in an episode, maybe moving house or not. I can't remember. My base is my sort of safety is the base of a house where I have the niceties of what's inside the house and all those things, and a nice sort of semi-peaceful, quiet neighborhood in that way, to which I can then go and enjoy, whether it's young people or scenery or architecture in places that I can then go to and come away from.
Yeah.
Because what comes with younger people is also what I see. And again, that's where the novelty I think would wear off when you go to those places. And I'm not knocking people that live in Hackney because obviously loads of people in their 20s do and they love that. But street art, for lack of a better word,
Not everywhere, but in Shoreditch there is very much that.
lots of noise, lots of all of that, lots of crowding,
Yeah.
and just people everywhere, which is great for me in moderation. But for some sort of what's the word? Sanctity? No, not sanctity.
Peace.
Yeah, it's nice to sort of know that I can come away for a bit more quiet.
I think you can still have that and be near that sort of area. Like we were cycling there yesterday on our limes, and we were even going through areas which were much more like that as well, I think. Yeah, I don't think you have to live in Broadway Market
No,
to,
definitely not.
experience it.
No, I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, it was a lovely
It was a lovely day, wasn't it? Overall, a lovely, lovely day.
Lovely in the sun. And then we went to the Night of the 5K PBs track night, which is organised by Highgate Harriers in Hampstead Heath.
Saw Alex Yee, the Olympic gold medalist.
Yes, we did.
We did indeed. Came second. He was a second Brit in the London Marathon.
Which is very cool.
Very cool indeed.
We were there with Monday Mood Booster, the run club, obviously. Well, not obviously, but the run club that I founded and Charlie helps lead.
Get to know
our run club in London. So that was nice being with the crew there, having a lovely little evening in the sun, and then stopped off for some food on the way home, and now we are here.
Here we are.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shorter one in our weeks because, as you say, we already reflected on our weeks in the last episode. But yeah, that was a lovely day.
Yeah, still lovely time, a lovely day as well.
Wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Wouldn't change it for the world. No,
I wouldn't change a thing.
Oh, okay, guys. So listen.
And I wouldn't change a thing.
He wouldn't change a thing. So this is the part where I have to segue into. Well, do you regret changing anything? We are getting there with our segues. I think it's
you used to
up
be
and
better.
down. I used to be better. I think I've lost it.
You have.
I think for me,
I'm always teeing them up and they're always just falling.
I let them go. I just drop the ball instantly.
Instantly.
Damn, what the hell? Instantly.
Charlie's voice always breaks on this podcast.
I don't know what's going on. It never breaks off podcast.
He's always like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So no, I've decided to every time it happens.
It never breaks off podcast either, does it?
Yes.
Yes, it doesn't. You're
Yes, it
right.
does.
It does never break our podcast.
It does.
I don't know what's going on, guys.
It does
My voice
indeed.
is usually quite low anyway. Regardless, for regrets, I think something that was quite interesting for me is, and for us in general, is I don't think we necessarily agree on
No.
regret. And we were speaking about this even before, and I actually stopped us. I was like, let's make sure we try and have this conversation on the pod, just so that we can really try and see where we go with it. Something that I think, have what we treasure in these episodes or in these conversations, and really why it started. One of the starting points is that how much enjoyment we got from open reflection, but debate as well, having different points and sort of bringing it and just saying, I don't necessarily agree. What about this? What about that? And so when we were getting into that before this episode, I sort of stopped us a bit, didn't I?
Yeah, I think we did. My understanding is we did at one stage agree about regrets, and then I think you've had some recent thoughts or conversations or reflections
Reflections on it, yeah.
to develop further, which has maybe shifted your perspective a little bit, which is then going to bring an interesting conversation today, I think.
Well, do we want to start? I think we should start with, for everyone's sake, defining what regret is, looking at types of regret, and then we can go very much into whether it's okay to have regrets, whether it's something that we should strive for or try and not have. No regrets.
No regrets. Good old
regrets.
end-ubs. Regret is commonly known within psychology as a cognitive emotional experience that arises when we reflect on a past decision and imagine a better outcome had we acted differently or had something gone differently. It's associated with counterfactual thinking. So that counter between what could have been or what happened and our behavior, and how there's a dissonance there. So it's cognitive emotional because we're thinking about that and thinking and reflecting on what happened and what could have been, but then there's the emotional side to it as well, because then those thoughts, like we always discuss, have association with things like whether that's longing or sadness or shame. All of those things are emotional experiences that come with the cognitive side of thinking. I could have done it this way, or I shouldn't have done that, or this happened and it could have happened differently. So that's it in its basic premise. There's a lot more theory to unpack there. I don't know if you... Shall I go straight into the theory?
I think so, because it'll set quite a good base for everyone to understand the different types of regret as well.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can understand more about what it is and whether we actually don't want it or do want it.
So there's there's the self-discrepancy theory in the 1987, I think it was, 1987 by Higgins. And basically the self-discrepancy theory explains how there's differences that in how we see ourselves and how we expect to see ourselves, or how we want to or believe to see ourselves, or we should be. So there's three versions of ourselves that we perceive. And when there's a difference in these versions or expectations in these versions, it can lead to emotional distress, including experiences of things like regret. So we have our actual self, and that is who you actually believe who you are and who you are right now. So that's your beliefs about your traits, your behaviors, your abilities, and how you're currently acting. The second self within the self-discrepancy theory is the ideal self. So the ideal self is who you want to be. It's kind of about your hopes and dreams and sort of wishful thinking, but who you believe like I say, you want to be in terms of aspirations and where you think
your goals,
your goals and your potential and
your hopes and dreams.
Your hopes and dreams. Simply that. There's no need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
And then there's your ought self, and that is more of a moral thing. So your ought self is who you feel you should be in terms of duty, responsibility, ethical principles, all of those sorts
Morals,
of things.
Yeah, I like
so
that.
We have your actual self, your ideal self, and your ought self. And basically, well, in the context of regret arises when there's a discrepancy between your actual self and either your ideal self and your ought self.
Okay. So if who you are is different from option A, your ideal self, option B, your ought self, which is who you feel like you should be based on your values and morals. If there's any difference or discrepancy between those two things, that's when regret can factor into it.
Exactly. So if you think about something in the context of an ideal self and hopes and dreams, thinking I I imagined myself in my 20s to be traveling the world and seeing every country. That's a
Mm.
hope and an aspiration that I should be. But right now, I'm in an office job, 9 to 5, going to work every day, getting the tube every day. There's a discrepancy there between what my ideal self is. I should be traveling, I should be doing this, but my
Yeah.
actual self. And that's a simple example of that. So therefore, that generates things of regret because it's a discrepancy of.
Your ideal
I feel
self, yeah.
bad because I'm not meeting my ideal self in that sense.
Got it.
Um, so yeah, and there's different types of regret as well, which are dependent on the discrepancy and which discrepancy is arising. So the one I just mentioned there, the discrepancy between actual and ideal self,
Yeah.
is regret about more about missed opportunities or things you haven't done, more so than things you
Yeah.
have done wrong. So
What if I could have gone traveling?
exactly,
Because your ideal self, let's say, for
it's a
example,
longing.
is the longing for what if or what could have been, for
Hmm.
instance. And that's from the discrepancy between who you are and who you could have been,
Hmm.
or where you could have been.
Yeah, so
Got it.
psychological theory, the self-discrepancy theory, gives examples of things like the you didn't take a risk, you didn't speak your truth, you didn't follow your passion. For example, I wished I moved abroad. I regret not starting that business. So it's
Yeah.
like you say, like we say, it's more things that we didn't do, based on a version of our ideal that we want to be but aren't getting to,
Got
if
it.
that makes
Yeah, it
sense.
does. Yeah.
Then we have actual versus ought self. And this isn't strictly true. It's not sort of very binary like this, but this sort of regret can be more associated with things you did wrong. So your actions, your actual actions leading to regret, as opposed to your inaction leading to regret. So it's regret about moral and social feelings, or say, for example, a basic example is um, I don't know, shouting at your partner or shouting at your colleague or your friend and making them feel
Mm.
small or whatever.
Yeah.
That's something you've done in that instance.
You've hurt
That's an
someone.
action
Yeah.
that is uh, that is that's incongruent with your moral compass or
It doesn't
your
line up
ought
with your
self.
values. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's incongruent with your ought self. So your actual self in shouting at that person is incongruent with the ought self of it's not morally correct, and I know it's not morally correct to make someone feel small about themselves.
Got it.
Um,
Okay.
so, for example, here we've got you didn't meet obligations, you let someone down, or you acted in a way that violated your own sense of duty. So, I regret cheating on my partner here, or I should have been there for my friend when I wasn't.
Got it.
Um,
Okay, so it's less about the previous one is more about what I didn't do or what I could have done. This one is I regret what I have done, and I regret
yeah,
the
but
actionable things because it doesn't line up with your moral compass or your moral code.
yes, but again, like I say, it's not strictly clean cut like that because in saying something like here, I should have been there for my friend when I wasn't, that is, you could argue that is a bit of inaction because you weren't there for your friend, but ultimately it's
Yeah,
still
you're right. Like I
your,
wish I would have been there for my friend more. Like where does
yeah.
that line drawn?
Um, so that's why it's not
Black and
distinct,
white. Yeah.
but it's still just generally speaking a lot more about what you do
What
and
you have
regret
done.
what you, so yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Can it
And
also
so,
be, sorry to cut you off there, but
no,
could it
carry
also
on.
be something of that second one is living more in the past and the first one is living more in the future?
Hold that thought.
Oh, interesting.
Hold that thought.
I'm gonna hold it.
Hold that
Where should I
thought.
hold it? My hands are both occupied.
I'll hold it here. Hold
Thank
that
you. Holding
thought.
space for thought.
Hold that thought. Just before we get onto that, I
Yeah.
forgot to mention there's different emotional reactions based on these different types of regret.
Okay.
So the first one, this discrepancy between your actual and your ideal self and things you haven't done is associated more with things like disappointment and longing and panging,
Yeah.
sort of a yearning for something that isn't there. Whereas the discrepancy between your actual and ought self and that kind of regret is more to do with guilt and shame,
Yeah.
and feeling guilty and
Guilty. Yeah.
shameful, because again, it's more about the guilt logically is and shame is associated with moral reasoning, and you have shame
Yeah.
when you've acted in a way that goes against your
Your
moral
moral code.
compass.
That
But
makes
to answer
sense.
your question,
Mm.
there's also different trends, or sorry, not trends, arguments for how these different types of regret are associated with different types of like long-term thinking, for
Okay.
example. So what have we got here? Basically, short-term regret, people tend to regret actions more. So whether the things that they've done wrong more. So that's sort of actual versus ought self. In the short term, that's what is more present for people.
So yeah, very binary. But if you cheat on your partner, you're going to regret that a whole lot more in the short term.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the long term, people are found to regret inaction more. So more of that actual versus ideal self, and things that they haven't done in their life, things that they look back on and wish they had done, for example. And long term, people regret that side of the coin. So I didn't pursue a dream when I was younger, all of those sorts of things.
So it's longer lasting. It's less intensely. It's felt less intensely, but it's longer lasting because it's, I wish I could have done that, instead of something that you can actually get over quicker, even though in the moment the discrepancy between you and your ought self will be felt deeper and harder.
And bearing in mind always that this is only some psychological theory, and it's firstly assuming that regret is defined as we've said, and that is the case, and that you can only feel regret in this way, and all these things. Like, for example, people will regret, I don't know, leaving their partner or letting their child down or whatever it is for years to come later. People have regrets about being bad parents for years to come later, and that's more of an action as opposed to inaction. So it's not, this isn't set rules, this is just, as always,
guiding boundaries.
It's interesting.
Psychological
theories.
This isn't anything to go off scientifically, but you know, there's interviews that people always try to sort of, when they pull slightly older people for an interview, they might even ask the question. I think this is where our conversations used to come from about regret. Was I've seen a few times just older people, you know, when they're asked about their regrets, it seems to be, oh, I wish I traveled more. I wish I moved to Australia. I wish I did that or this. I think that's where my initial sort of view against having regrets came from, was because I didn't like the idea of when I was 80, 90, whatever it is, if I get to that age, of course, having regrets on not doing things, because it seems to be longer lasting. Yeah. But then you can also ask yourself the second point, so the discrepancy between you and your moral code, the ought self, how much of that comes from not being able to forgive yourself.
And a lack of self-compassion.
A lack of self-compassion, because if, in my mind, say you were a bad parent and you let your kid down, if you're stuck in that rut of, or the cycle, or the sort of spiral of saying, I'm not a good parent, all this sort of, you know, negative self-beliefs, it's actually your self-talk which is keeping you in that spiral, instead of a genuine wish to have gone somewhere.
I'm not sure.
It's a really interesting one.
It is. Got to break it down.
You want to break it down?
Break it down.
Yeah.
But just before we move on, I just wanted to say some empirical evidence, because I do always like scientific evidence.
You like his evidence, guys.
In support of saying that long-term regret is more associated with inaction. There's research. So Rosie and Somerville in 2005 did a big systematic review, but also surveyed thousands of people themselves. And they were looking at most common types of regret, and the most common type of regret in this giant study was missed opportunities.
It was the
long-term missed opportunities. So you know, and that was around things like education, career, relationships, and those things that were missed.
When you say education, career, and relationships, does it go into any more about types, or was it just those sorts of fields?
It did. I haven't read them.
Fair enough. Sorry to put you on the spot there. I was just interested to know.
But you can imagine, I haven't read the specific measures that were deployed. But you can imagine relationship satisfaction, all those sorts of things.
I wish I took that career, or I wish I did something different, something I enjoyed.
Yes. So that goes hand in hand, and is evidence to support some more of the theoretical side, that people are more likely to regret inaction or missed opportunities for a longer time in the long run.
So there is research showing that.
Research
is showing that. Interesting.
It is. I find it very interesting.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
What I find more interesting, and I know we want to talk about a lot today, is our compassion for ourselves, and actually the utility of regret. And what I mean by that is how useful it is to hold regrets and live and navigate life with regrets. I was listening to a podcast a while ago, and the two co-hosts, which it sounds like we might be doing today, and not that I'm trying to replicate that, but that one was like, no, I have all of these regrets and that's fine, and the other was like, no, I don't have any regrets and I intentionally don't want to have regrets. And I just find that discussion, we should unpack that, because what is,
Yeah.
let me ask you, what is the use of having or holding regrets in your life?
It depends how you see I regret. Firstly, personally, I think it. So let's use myself as a use case. Um, I it's not very useful, but I'm not sure how I sit with regret currently. On one side of the fence, I'm very much. I think regrets can be very useful.
Mm,
As a guiding compass. It doesn't mean necessarily I'd go back and change it. But then, from the definition, is that what regret is? Is it wanting to go back and change it? I don't
mm,
think so. Actually, I think I do know where I sit now, even speaking about it. In my mind, I think regrets can be something that maybe if you were to do it again,
mm,
I don't know if you'd do it differently, but having happened the way it did, you've learnt your lesson. So the regret itself might not be a good thing, but the lessons you've learned and the guiding compass that you have from that regret can often be a great thing and a necessary thing. Part of me does think, is it even realistic to get to an old age and even think I've got zero regrets, I regret nothing? Like, is that real?
I I see. For me, part of regret is a longing and a wanting, like we said, the longing,
Yeah.
a wanting for it to be different, and
Hmm.
and if you could choose to go back and do it differently.
Yeah.
That is how I see regret personally, and I
Wishing to
think
do nothing.
that's this is what the definition is saying as well.
First one.
Yeah, you're wanting. There's that discrepancy there between, and that incongruence there between what actually happened and what you want to and wish did happen, and therefore you want to go back and change that. For me, I'm slightly leaning into spirituality, but I mean, relatively very little.
Hmm.
In terms of openness and reflection, but still, I am someone who believes in things like law of attraction. What's supposed to be for you will come your way, and what
Yeah.
was never meant for you won't come your way. All of those things, and that life is. To what level, I'm not sure, and we often have this discussion of how we interact with what was supposed to come for us and how we manifest and build things that are supposed to come our way. So it's
Yeah.
us having agency over. I'm not completely deterministic in that way, and just let me sit back and let the whole life just happen to me. I'm not saying that,
Hmm.
but I do believe that to some level there is things that are supposed to happen.
Yeah, I
And in
completely
having said
agree.
that, I believe that I hope at an old age, as I do now at 28, almost 29, I can look back over my last 28 or 29 years, and
Hmm.
I personally don't regret anything. There are things that I will elaborate on. I
Hmm.
have adverse feelings towards in terms of my behavior or lack of behavior.
Yeah.
However, I don't regret because I wouldn't want to go back and do it differently. And
Hmm.
in that means I don't. It's not a regret. I don't. Where I am right now in this very moment is because of every single micro action, every single second.
Yeah.
The second I chose to wake up that one morning, whether that was a second later, that's the butterfly effect, right? And all of those things all feed into this. All of those micro decisions you make on a daily basis have all led to a culmination of this very moment, in my opinion. And the subtle
Slow.
the very subtle change in that, like I
Hmm.
say, whether you got up a second later would completely shift your life into a different way.
I
So
completely
I
agree with that.
don't want to
I do
go back
challenge
and
you
change
slightly on
things.
that. Whilst I completely agree, I think every action that we've ever taken has led us to this point.
Yeah,
And I think sitting in an ideal of, I wish I was somewhere else, I don't agree with that. Because
yeah.
that then takes you out of the present moment, takes away a lot of joy that you could be feeling right now.
Mm,
So my point of saying if it's okay to have regrets isn't coming from a place of wanting to change the here and now because of something they did previously, or saying, oh, I wish I did that more. So I almost don't agree with it's okay to have a longing sort of regret. So the first type.
yeah,
However,
because
because that means that you are, in my mind, living for an ideal, something that isn't the reality.
mm,
And that is saying, oh, if I did that differently, I could have gone traveling, or I could have gone to Australia, and then I could have had all these things. And I don't believe that that's okay to have that. I
mm,
mean, you can if you want to, but I don't think that's really where proper joy and well-being is felt, in having those types of regrets. However, let's say we look at the type 2 of regret, is the difference in the ought self, is
Your
the moral
moral
compass and
side.
code.
Yep.
Let's say, for instance, back in school, I was mean to a kid, for instance.
Let's ground it in that, because that's a reality for me. I said on one of the first episodes, I wasn't a bully. I can't say, because I wasn't the recipient of my behavior. I don't think I was a traditional bully. I don't think I was most certainly never physical towards anyone. I've never thrown a punch in my life. But I for like a year of my life, when I was going through things, I would tease people in a way that they since told me, as when we became friends, that it would upset them a lot. And I do, yeah, that is something that I don't necessarily like about my past.
It's a discrepancy from your ought self. So now, asking
Yes.
this question, is it okay to have the regret, saying, if it wouldn't change anything, I'd still be where I am now and who I am today? Is it okay to regret not going back and being kinder to those people? Is that not a regret which is okay to have?
I don't regret it, because I don't want to. I wouldn't change it, and that might sound bad, because that means that person still had to go through that, and there's I guess, a victim in that situation. But if I'm thinking about my life and my lessons, I wouldn't want to change that, because I learned a lot from that in terms of compassion and how to be a nicer person and all of those things.
Well, even from listening to our conversations right now, we're going a lot based on change. Can you have regrets then without wanting to change something? Because this is learning lessons. Learning lessons, for instance. From asking that, can we say, just to finish my question, can we say, okay, whilst I wouldn't go back and change it because that would change myself, the regret can be, yeah, I could have been kinder. However, I'm going to use that as a moral compass and a moral code so that I can go forward and be kinder.
Yeah, well, to me, and let me just break that down even further. So for someone might be confused, because I'm saying I don't have regrets, but I just said I don't like that I did that in my past. But I can dislike something I did in my past without regretting it, I think, and that's the difference. I have remorse, and that's the key difference there. I hold remorse for that, and I'm allowed to feel remorseful, and I definitely feel remorseful for that, but I don't regret it.
Interesting.
Remorse for me is, again, that being sorry, the feeling bad about that, and wanting to
It's Bumblebee saying hi.
Okay.
Hey, Bumblebee.
Like learning from that and all of those sorts of things. But that's remorse, and I definitely hold remorse. But in the regret is more of where remorse turns into regret for me, and what I understand from my reading and things, is it's a rumination of that remorse, and it's not just being at peace with that remorse, it's wanting to go back and change it.
So you think the difference is the change?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't want to, I don't want to live a life where I'm looking back, whether that is action or inaction, looking back and thinking, God, I wish I did that differently. I should have done that. Because to me, that's then, there's a friction between thinking that and also believing that everything has led to me being in this moment, because I should be in this moment now. Because if I did change that, and if I did change that in the past, I wouldn't be who I am in this very moment. If I'm trying to be self-actualized and love myself and all of those things, and compassionate in this very moment, there's a friction between that, and whilst also thinking I don't like who I used to be, because ultimately who I used to be has led to me in this moment now, and I'm really getting down on a path, but I
think it's the path we should be going down. Is, should we actually be okay with regret, or can we turn that into remorse, and through doing that, it's through self-compassion? As you said, I genuinely believe in everything of, we are exactly where we are meant to be right now. We are on the right path. We always have been. Whatever you do not have was never meant for you. It was not. If it was meant for you, you would have it. Truly, I genuinely believe that. So in that, does having a regret just in itself go completely against the idea of all of those things that I've just said?
Yeah.
So does the idea of regret, wanting change, wishing you had something else, longing for something which you never had, is that going exactly against those things that I've just said, of saying, I'm on the right path, whatever is meant for me is with me, and whatever is not with me as well? Is the idea of regret just completely is a what's the word? Antonym. Not
Antonym
antonym?
is the opposite.
Yeah, is that the antonym to that? to the ideas of
self-love and compassion, all those things.
Self-love, compassion,
Actualization,
actualization, realizing that you're on the right path, all those things, is
I think
regret the
so.
antonym to it?
In my opinion, yes. I'm only one person, but that's my opinion.
You're only one person.
That's my opinion.
Interesting.
Yes.
So remorse. I like the idea of remorse. The idea being change,
And
wanting to change.
I think it's perfectly. I personally, I have remorse about a lot of things,
Mm,
and that's okay. But I don't want to be someone. And look, this is also not a situation where I'm saying, oh, I'm absolved of regret and I never have regrets and I'm better. Like, it's an active process of trying to not sit
mm,
with that and wish I could change that.
yeah.
Um, I'm not here absolved of feeling regretful, but I also am someone who wants to try and, in line with everything we're doing here, the
Yeah.
presence and gratitude is something that it's one of our
One of
pillars,
our main
right?
pillars, yeah.
How can I be present and grateful for who I am in this very moment while regretting what's got me here?
It's wow. Can we just can we all can us three here just sit with that for a second? That is an incredible. You've just dropped a wisdom bomb right there. Say that again for me, please.
How can I?
Wow. No, genuinely, that was really good.
How can I? How can I be present? How can I be present and grateful for myself in this moment and love and have self-actualization for the best version of me, while regretting
What got me there?
what got me here?
I love that. I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
I wouldn't change a single thing, and I know people will argue with that, and I would love to debate that further. But I personally, yeah, that. I think that's a hard line for me is the remorse versus the regret.
Here's an
And I have remorse because I'm someone who is so empathetic and feels so badly, probably too remorseful about things that people don't even think about. But I do, but I don't regret.
Here's an interesting one then. Do you think the regret itself is what's keeping people from getting to where they actually want to be?
Oh, what a
So,
question!
for an example, if I'm ruminating on the past,
Yeah,
my failures, on where I'm not where I want to be, the longing, I'm like, oh, I regret not doing this, I regret not doing that. I regret being mean, I regret letting that person down, I regret bullying this kid back in school. Is all those regrets taking place in your mind, stopping you from allowing the peace, which comes with remorse, which can then lead you to a better place, which will actually get you to travel or whatever it may be,
yeah, I think so. It's part of living in the past, and that's why again
or the
we
future.
talk about presence. Is if you live in the past of thinking, oh, what if that was different, and how that is,
Yeah.
because we talk about living in the past as in being often when we speak about living in the past, we speak about it about nostalgia and rose tinted glasses and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But also, one can live in the past in regret and thinking, God, I wish I did that differently. But what use? I come back to what use is that for you
Yeah.
to move forward? You can't change that. And this is one of the things that we'll get onto when we're talking about advice.
Mm.
Regretting is, in a way, and like ruminating and holding on to something you cannot physically change. Ultimately, I'm being reduction. I'm not being reductionist, but I'm being sort of black and white here.
You have to
You
be.
cannot change that. So therefore there is no use or utility in sitting and being like, God, I wish I could do that differently. Okay, you can't. So what can you do moving forward? Because all you have is right now and moving forward.
What's the lesson that you can learn?
Exactly,
It's literally what we
lessons.
were saying yesterday in
And
terms of when life throws you a curveball, use it as a challenge.
yeah,
Use it as a challenge. What can you learn from the situation? If something is really bad happens, it's going to be really tough to do this. But in any sort of form, if you can ask yourself genuinely, what can I learn from this? What have I learned from this?
yeah,
What has it made me? Who do I want to be from this?
yeah. You
Um,
can learn from remorse for sure,
oh,
as
that's
you can
really
learn from
interesting. So the difference, yeah, the main difference from what I'm gathering is that it's being able to sit peacefully with
Mm,
what's happened in the past,
yeah.
and instead of letting it control you,
Mm,
being at peace with it and learning from it, and that turns regret into remorse.
mm-hmm.
So whilst you can still allow space for those bad feelings of sadness, empathy, whatever it is, let's
Yeah.
say about the kid bullying thing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad that I did that. Yeah, it didn't line up with my moral code. It, was a discrepancy with my ought self. However, I wouldn't change it because since reflecting on me doing that, it's made me so much kinder.
Mm. I have a hypothetical, and maybe I don't know how much we can really answer it because we don't have that lived experience, but I'm wondering, we're speaking about sort of low level moral discrepancies, right?
Yeah.
Let's think, uh, I don't know, it's not going to be nice because it's high level moral discrepancies. But
Go
let's
for
say
it.
you drink drive, and there was an accident from your drink driving, and there was a fatality.
You kill someone.
How?
Wow.
I'm just trying to apply my sort of
critical thinking here.
Yeah, my reasoning of don't live in regret because it's not useful to someone in that instance. I think it would require a lot more sort of
Oh my word.
spiritual presence and grounding and sort of sitting there, because it's not just bullying someone in the playground then.
No, you've taken
you've
I mean,
taken a
murder
life.
on any account, arguably one of the worst things that we can as humans can do. But this is easy for me to say having not been in this position, but in my mind it does lead into the exact same, on a much higher scale, the exact same reasoning. Was option A, you sit in the regret forever, you long for the self who didn't kill, or you are sat in the the discrepancy from your old self saying, I can't believe I killed this person, I regret it so much. Or you can feel the remorse, you're incredibly sad for the family, the victim, everyone involved, because it's a terrible situation. However, you can also learn from what it is, you can teach, you can go forward, you set up a charity. It's a terrible situation.
It's so difficult because I feel like every part of me would want to change the past.
Of course.
Obviously.
Everyone says it who's been through that, I think, don't they?
I think it would take so much, again, spiritual healing and inner work of fully coming to realization that you letting go of, I cannot change that action, and beyond what I can even comprehend, I cannot change the action that I've taken a life here. So all I can do is put into what I can do moving forward, for whether that's myself or moving forward for other people in terms of reparation or whatever it is.
I don't see why that's any different to the small scale. Of course, on like a scale level, it's much bigger. But in terms of what we've just said, I don't think it's any different from a small scale bullying a kid in this school playground. I don't think it is any different in terms of what's necessary to do. Sure, it's on a much higher scale, but at the end of the day, letting go of the fact that you can't change that, accepting it and learning from it is actually what's going to turn regret into remorse and allow you to grow into a better person. But now it's a lot more difficult.
Oh my God,
I'm not saying it's not, but it's, if we're getting black and white, it's basically the same.
You'd basically need to be a near monk, which
would be reject every modern.
It's just come to complete peace with the very present moment and everything else. Let go of everything else outside of that. Which is very difficult, but ultimately
it's the same.
What are we trying to do? I don't know.
Turn regret into remorse. I like that a lot. It's
Another
really
thing
interesting.
I think we should touch on is different types of behaviors or lacking behaviors in terms of things like career, breaking that down. Now, I'm someone who personally so far has been lucky that I don't have any regrets in my career, whether that's turning something down or missing an opportunity. And I think I chalk that up to my reasoning of very much what's meant, and I can apply that a lot more logically without emotion to something like a career, because I see that to be less morally driven and more of like a practical thing. But with my career, I'm very sort of, I guess, stoic about it, in the sense of, okay, well, it wasn't meant for me, so it's not come to me, or that decision. Something I'm really bad at is making decisions and coming to decisions, whether it's even what I want for breakfast, let alone whether I should take a job or not. But having been bad at that, I've worked on letting go of the choice I don't make, and completely coming to terms with and peace with, okay, I've let go of that, therefore I'll never know that reality. I'll never know what that decision looked like. So there's no point thinking what if, and can I go back and change that?
I don't think you can. It'll haunt you and wrap you, I think, for the whole thing. I think in essence, a lot of the emotional states that you were saying, whether it's longing, sadness, holding on to something, they're all quite negative, or typically negative emotions with that. Which in my mind associated with a lack of joy in its essence. So let's use the example. I think I've said it in one previous episode. My brief stint in Thailand when I was working out there, had to make a decision to whether I came back to London or I stayed out there for a job which I wasn't quite sure on. The offer was there. to work out there for a number of years, I turned it down. Which was a tough decision. It was a decision I wasn't sure of at the time. It was led by a number of factors. One of the main ones being it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And I know I've spoken more about this elsewhere, but when you're having to turn something down just because of a feeling instead of all the logic on paper.
God, it's so hard.
Or especially the outside noise from everyone, family and friends, like, what are you doing? What the hell's happening? It's, it takes you on a weird path because you're challenging yourself, your internal beliefs. For me, for years, I dreamed of, living on a beach, working in a marine conservation sort of setting as well. Something I still obviously would like the idea of. It didn't feel right when I was out there, or at least the work I was doing or being offered didn't feel right. So turning that down, even though a lot of me felt like I should have said yes, was a really weird choice. And now coming back to London, doing something completely different, meeting new people, setting up this podcast and everything more is a direction, of course, I'd never thought I'd take. Now getting back onto the regret. In my mind, if I sit here now saying, do I regret the choice of coming back to London? No, I do not. Now, how much of that have I had to be in a stoic way saying, I'm in the best place. I made the decision because it was the only decision to make. What is meant for me, I have. It was never meant for me at all. Some people would say, oh, you're just telling yourself that to get over or to be happy. Or I would say, no, it's truly because I made a decision with the tools I had at the time. Genuinely, that was how I felt at the time.
Yeah.
I acted in alignment with how I felt. And now, whilst at the time I might have been clueless, I might have had no vision, I might have been able to think, I don't know where this is going to take me. I've now gotten so much more from that. So it's been so much more fruitful. So there's no regret there, because there can't be, because if I was regretting that decision, it would be saying that what I have right now isn't good. And it would be taking the joy away from what I'm doing and what I'm feeling and who I am. In a career sense.
If you came back and I don't want to be specific because I don't want to put down any specific jobs, but if you came back and you weren't in this situation right now, we hadn't met, we hadn't made this podcast, you weren't working at your other job, and you were doing something, let's say you couldn't find a job, and you were didn't have an income. This, what is it now, 2 years later?
Yes, just over 2 years.
Would you still be able to hold no regret for leaving?
I think it's within my capacity. It would be a lot harder to. It'd be a much, much harder to say it was the right decision. Especially if nothing else had come up. I think what allows me to sit quite comfortably in this stoicism and the spirituality of saying it was never meant to be, I made the right decision, is because so much good has happened as well. But alternatively,
that's why our question is.
But alternatively, just to flip that back on you, is it my ability to see the good in things which has led to me achieving these things as well? If I was someone who was more easily sat in my regret and saying, oh, I made the wrong decision, I'm spiraling, I'm sat there, how much of my ability to sit there in the spiraling or the genuine wish to change would never have been allowed myself to find new ventures, for instance? I know it was my open-mindedness when I came back was what led me to my job. I was instantly there. I was like, well, what can I do? What do I want right now?
Yeah.
And then from being in London.
For sure. And they're not, everything's interlinked like that.
Interlinked. Yeah.
And that's your values and who you are as a person. But I wondered more from a sense of playing devil's advocate, how easy it is to, for myself as well, subscribe to the everything's meant to be sort of way, and therefore not having regrets if things aren't going how you want, or if because also going back to the beginning, when we get a rejection from a job, let's say, it's easier to think let go of it, whereas when sometimes it can be easier when we make that decision ourselves. We feel like we've brought this, if it doesn't turn out well, we feel like we've brought this upon ourselves.
It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility that we've brought this hardship upon ourselves, and therefore potentially have more scope to regret it, and we subscribe less to what's meant for me because it feels like we had control over that. But I challenge that and think I still believe what's meant for me, will come my way, and vice versa. But it's how we interact with the world around us and what's meant for us that leads to that. What I'm questioning is when things don't go well, how much we can. I guess it challenges how much we believe that and how much
Yeah,
we
it does.
really endorse that, because if things are failing and failing and failing and failing over and over again, and you're really down over 2 years and whatever, and you're like, if only, it just calls into question how much resilience you have to supporting what's meant for me and not having those
Yeah, how
regrets.
much you actually believe
Because
it.
yeah, and how much of not having regrets comes from a place of not privilege in a way of, oh, you're privileged, you can't complain, but privilege in a way of, okay, well, it has gone well, so it's easy for me to believe that it was supposed to work out this way
Oh, it's an
and not
interesting one.
regret it.
I'm not sure. Well, this is then using the idea that life is coming at us,
Mm.
saying these events are happening externally instead of what I believe, and I think you do as well. Life comes from within us. Our perceptions or our perspectives, our reality comes from within.
Yeah.
Now, getting very deep here spiritually, but I genuinely believe the life we craft comes from within. It doesn't happen to us.
Mm.
The jobs, the adventures, the everything, it comes from within. So in your instance, you're saying if everything's going well, it's easier to say and it's easier to be stoic in the fact that, oh, this is meant for me. I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
God has my back, whatever you might say. However,
Or any
challenging
other
that,
religious figure.
or any religious figure, or just the universe, whatever sort of, you tie that into,
Yeah.
flipping the
Higher
script
being.
with life coming from within you. Is it your beliefs? First, for instance, saying, I'm on the right path, this is meant for me. What will come to me is what actually turns these things into reality.
Mm.
Was it my ability, which I have, whether it's resilience or whatnot, just from within saying, what is meant for me is meant for me. I made the right decision. I'm on the right path is actually what causes this podcast or my job or the life I have now to happen.
Yeah.
Instead of the other way around, because life comes from within.
Well, we know we agree on this.
Yeah.
But it's an interaction between the two, I think. It's how we make the most of our environment and
it is.
what's, for lack of a better term, God's will.
No.
Destiny, let's say.
God's plan, whatever it
Let's say
is.
destiny instead. How we create and support and make the most of our destiny.
Yeah.
And that's where the things like law of attraction and manifestation and all of those things come into it, and energy planes and all of those things, which if you're scoffing at us, then maybe you're listening to the wrong podcast, because we both both definitely endorse and invest in those ideas.
Completely.
But yes, so there is a destiny, but also we are constantly we are actors in that, who are continually shaping that and making that and building towards that by the energy we put out and the things that who we are. Hence, on a literal plane, on a literal dimension that we can understand, you saying yes to going to a run club, you being open-minded to come on a trip to Italy with a run club of people you've never met before. On a spiritual level, you could say that's, you're putting out energy of, you're manifesting, and you're putting out energy of saying yes to things and positive energy and meeting people and all those things, and that's come back to you and finding one of your best friends and finding your business and all of these things. On a literal sense, it's you saying yes and you making those things happen. We are going away from regret here.
I do not want to take us further away from regret, but this is literally leading me into themes and ideas of destiny, free will. Are our paths set? Self-beliefs is our genuine internal beliefs of, am I meant for great? Am I destined for good? Is that what's actually leading us? Is it my thought of, whatever happens, I've got my back because I know I can? Is it that internal guiding dialogue which actually allows all these external things to come, and then I don't regret things because of the external things going well, because of my internal beliefs? I think it's so all interlinked as well, but I think one of the main things that I'm picking up on is how your perspective, realistically, of the world, whether things are happening for you, at you, or coming from within you. And then the regret or the remorse is almost a byproduct.
Yeah, and in line with that, I think, leading back to regret as well, I think people who are a victim of their circumstances, and that's not to say one's better than the other, and I don't mean that in a way that says that's worse, but people who are a victim of their circumstances or think life's happening at them, I feel like are more likely, or maybe hold more regrets, because they're sitting in what could have been, what should have been, what they want to change, and long after that, as opposed to thinking, okay, well, I'm the only one that can craft and change here, so what can I do moving forward, and actually how I can sculpt and
Yeah.
craft my life based on what I have learned as opposed to what's happened to me and what I'm a victim of.
It's really interesting. I think having this is probably going to get a little bit of flack, but I'm going to say it anyway. It takes a certain amount of courage and bravery to be able to hold accountability for yourself and then craft a future that you want. I think, as you were just saying there with the victim mindset, some people do have a victim mindset. They believe the world's against them. They believe they can't do these certain things, and they're sat in themes of regret. And because it takes a certain level of courage to say, okay, I'm in a bad situation. How can I get out of this? Because the easier path is to be like, oh, I can't believe it's happening again. It's always me. Why is it me?
Yeah.
That doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you at
Yeah.
all. And it's so easy with, respectfully, yeah, a lot of the privilege that I've been given in my life as well.
Yeah.
However, in any case, is it actually serving you, genuinely serving you to sit in your this victim mentality of, saying all these things are happening to me, instead of flipping the script and just saying, as we said in our last episode, this has happened. What can I do? What can I do from now that would get me to a better place?
Yeah.
What action can I take?
Yeah, because also it leads into, and this is where I also see and have experience with within my field of practice in forensic psychology.
Yeah.
In terms of desisting from crime or whatever, rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Is you have a self-fulfilling prophecy potentially of thinking, well, I can't control this. I'm just destined to be a bad person, so I'm going to keep making these mistakes because I regret it, but I'm bad, and that's what's supposed to be because I'm just a rubbish person. And there's that lack of compassion, all of those things that feed into that. So you have no hope to be better. You have no hope to learn. You have no, or even you have no belief that that's even a possibility because so much of life has, and it completely makes sense if you're someone who, people I've worked with in the past who have had the worst upbringings you could even imagine. The worst things put upon them since even
That
before
wasn't their fault.
birth.
Yeah, that wasn't
Born
their fault.
addicted to,
Heroin.
opioids. Like if that's your start in life, of course, that is, you haven't of course chosen that situation.
No.
So why would you necessarily have hope? Why would you feel like you have agency over your life? Why would you feel like you can move away from that regret? Because then that regret is just a cycle of, well, I'm going to be bad. I was bad then. I'm going to continue to be bad because there's no hope to be better, and I can't learn from it.
No. It's easy for us to, easy for me at least to sit here whilst I've had a very good childhood, a very nice childhood as well. But yeah, everyone's got different realities. But I think the overarching themes here is how much can you take control and accountability for what you can control, and where you are now and who you are. And sure, you can have some remorse because that allows you to sit comfortably in maybe a guiding compass or a moral compass of where you want to go to. But also looking forward in terms of what can I change.
Yeah. And so everyone has ability, or should do, in a free world, which I appreciate not every person does across the globe, but in a free world, the opportunity for control over their actions.
Of course.
And going back to my experience, work experience in the past, working with offenders or people who have offended, one of the models of rehabilitation that I hugely subscribe to, and I now adopt it in all forms of my life, whether it's in my teaching or whatever, is the recovery model.
Okay.
Which is to help someone and to recover or desist from crime, you must work to 4 different goals, or be given or work with 4 different objectives, which is hope, control, responsibility, and opportunity.
Okay.
So we work to help people who have offended in those 4 domains.
Okay.
One of which is being control. You want to feel control over your life, and you might have never had that opportunity in the past, or you might have never had that in the past, having been institutionalized, having everything happen to you, abuse, all of those things. And now you're in a situation where you're institutionalized and in a secure setting. You have no control over your movement, all of those sorts of things. So how can we allow people to feel control over their recovery moving forward, and truly give them control over their life? Because that's what it comes back to, feeling that control over what we're doing and our agency to be able to control, because ultimately that's what it is. Only you can have therapy, you can have a partner, you can have friends, you can have your children, whatever. Ultimately, only you can make your decisions in your life,
It's the accountability.
and it's that control. So coming back
Mm.
to regret, only you can make changes moving forward. And in I feel like in sitting with regret, for me, it's taking some of that control away and putting it
Mm.
into a past, or that should have been different,
Making peace with
or
it.
giving control to your past self, when actually only you can control moving forward. And therefore, for me, sitting in regret is absolving yourself of some of control, because it's like, I wish that could change. Well, actually, what can I control in the situation, and what can I do moving forward?
So true. That's
And
actually a really good point. Is yeah, knowing what can you change, taking accountability for the past, knowing that you dealt with whatever you dealt with the tools that you had at the time.
mm,
Something that I practice sometimes. If I'm ever feeling in a way, oh, that would have been good, is remembering or trying to remember how I felt when I made that decision.
mm,
It was me who made that decision. I love me. You have to love yourself. You
mm,
don't have to, but you should. And so, in loving yourself, you're respecting your previous self for making a decision that they made.
yep,
Otherwise, you're looking at yourself and saying, I made
exactly,
the wrong decision, or that person made the wrong
yeah,
decisions. No, that was you. The tools you had at the time, you made the right decision because that was you making that decision in itself.
mm,
Thus, love yourself, have the compassion. You can sit there and, you know, maybe say, oh, that's taught me this or that's taught me that. But
mm,
that decision happened for a reason. Remember how you felt making that decision,
yep,
and that allowed that control to come back, I think.
exactly. So,
Wow.
do you have regrets?
I don't think I do know. I have a lot of remorse, not a lot, but I have remorse in my life. But from reflecting this conversation, I wouldn't say I have regrets.
Okay.
I say I have remorse for just treating people nicer. I'd always like to think I can treat people nicer.
Yeah.
I'd always like to think that.
Yeah, I wasn't asking you to go into detail.
No, but I'd
If you don't
say
want to,
no,
obviously.
no,
But
no. Yeah, yeah. I'd say overall it would be just yeah, because in saying I love like you said it earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. In saying I want to go back and change something that happened previously is saying that I'd change who I am now
mm,
and change the way I got here, which I wouldn't want to do because in doing those things when they weren't the nicest to those people, that would change who I am now, and I love who I am now. I love where
mm,
I am now as well. And so in doing that, it would be doing myself now a dishonor and a
yeah,
disservice. So in honoring my own self now, I wouldn't change that.
yeah,
I can feel about those things. I can feel remorse, but not regret. No. You?
no.
Wow.
I have remorse, but not regret. I don't want to change the past,
No,
because, as you just said,
you can't.
that would negate who I am today,
Yeah.
or invalidate who I am today and where I am today.
Interesting.
Um, and I think the key is the remorse, because yes, I don't necessarily want to have put that person who I teased in school through that, and that's why
Mm,
I'm remorseful.
yeah.
But it's led to who I am as an individual actor
Yeah.
in my own reality, in my own world. It's led to who I am today.
Wow.
Um,
How interesting.
I know. So, do we have
That's
some advice?
I think we do. We have some well-being tips. As with everything here, we want to bring you guys, or we want to bring you some tools and tips, realistically on if you feel like you have regrets, what can you do to, yeah, shape your reality in a bit of a better way.
Mm.
I think.
So we'll go through them and then we'll break them down in detail, right?
I think we will.
Yeah.
Indeed, yes. So number one, I think, is use regret as a compass and not as a chain.
Mm-hmm. Number two is basically implement regret forecasting. So thinking about, if I don't want to regret something in the future, or if you're coming to a decision, and maybe this is more about your ideal self, if I don't want to in 5 years regret not having done this, what decision can I make that avoids that regret, or
Yeah.
that longing in the future?
hmm Number three is self-compassion. So say aloud, I made the best decision I could with what I knew then. So yeah, using the tools that you had at the time, just show yourself some love.
Yeah. And number four and final is transforming regret into action. So
Yeah.
what can we do moving forward with that regret, or those adverse feelings?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Number
So,
one, use regret as a compass and not as a chain. I think maybe this is the remorse, what we were saying. The difference is
mm,
not not wanting to change it, but instead using it
mm,
as a moral code, saying, whilst what I did didn't align with my actions or my values or the ought self, as you were saying before, what can I learn from it now?
Yeah.
Don't be chained down by your previous actions. Use it as fuel to guide your future self.
I love the imagery of it.
Yeah.
It really just encapsulates what it means very
It is
well.
good, isn't it?
Regret can chain you down and make you feel chained to a version that could have been and what should have been and how you wanted it to have been, and therefore is holding you in a state of never being and
Yeah.
what can never be. Whereas a compass is you're moving, you're finding, you're navigating,
You're going forward.
you're going forward. Importantly, so how we can use whatever happened in the past, shaping it from a regret that's chaining me down into, yes, maybe I feel remorseful about that, but how can I move forward with that, and what can I learn from it, and how can I navigate having had this experience?
It is great visual.
It is.
Guiding, isn't it? I think it explains it very, very nicely.
Mhm.
Is you find a compass or you find a chain. Do
Yeah.
you want to go forward or do you want to be stuck where you are?
Yeah.
Simple.
It is simples.
Simples, yeah.
Regret forecasting, I think, is an interesting one.
It is, isn't it?
And I think it's helpful, especially when people have decision paralysis, or if you're stuck in a limbo state of knowing that something might need to shift, but not knowing how to make that shift or whatever it is.
Or when to.
If you want to avoid a life of feeling kind of what if, or those sorts of things, or that longing,
Yeah.
it also comes back down to the control. Only you have that control.
Yeah.
So if you think that you're longing after something in the future, or you'll look back and think, I wish I'd have done that travel, or I'd gone away and moved away, or whatever, how useful is it to have that longing versus the control? If you can change it, obviously, again, childcare response, all of those things.
Yeah.
But if you can change it, longing after it or regretting not doing it is not very useful. You can change it, so maybe think about making steps to implement that change instead of passively regretting.
It always allows you to have your best self in the heart of your decision you make as well. If we can all make decisions in the instant and the now, which probably aren't the best for us as well, whether even if it's being as binary as, should I get this from McDonald's whilst I'm drunk? Like, it's such a small decision, but like, let's use that as an example. Or would my future self in 5 years, your future self in 5 years probably wouldn't care, to be honest. The main message is, though, is it, I think using the thing is, would I regret this in 5 years' time, genuinely puts your best self at the heart of the answer.
Yeah.
It does, because it's whatever, who you are in 5 years isn't something that we're always thinking of in the moment. We don't always have our future best selves in our minds.
No.
But if you can ask yourself that question, it puts your future best self in your mind right there and then, and allows you to act with more clarity, I think, which might stop the regret instead.
And I find this interesting as well. Just sit with me for a moment, because I'm struggling to articulate it. But in saying there's no regrets, in the future forecasting to avoid regret, it's kind of contradictory, because we're saying we don't really live with regret. So whatever happens, you shouldn't live with regret.
Yeah.
But that's, again, absolving yourself completely of proactive responsibility. We throughout all of this are saying, we still shape our reality. We're not sitting here passively and letting everything happen to us. We are still actively making things happen and making decisions based on what's best for us in this moment. It doesn't mean, just because we shouldn't ever have regrets, that we can then do nothing and in 5 years look back and be like, well, I said I don't regret anything, so I shouldn't regret anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it does. Yeah.
But it's more about taking control of what you can control. To avoid. Yeah, because what I'm saying is, we say we don't have regrets, so why would we give advice about avoiding regret in the future when we don't necessarily want to have regrets?
Well, this is less about avoiding regrets. It's less about, I think, being in a state where you could regret itself, or could feel the regret.
Yes, exactly.
If you're asking yourself these questions with your genuine future best self in your heart and in your mind, when it comes to it, you wouldn't be in a place where you could regret.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've acted with your best intentions going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Number 3 is having self-compassion.
Yeah.
I know I explained it a little bit when I said it, but genuinely believing and internalizing you dealt with that situation with the tools that you had at the time. Now, how you might deal with it now would be different. That's a different question. At the time when the decision was made, you had those tools and you dealt with it how you best could. Whether it was good or bad was out of the question. It's more about just yeah, knowing that you made this decision with who you were at the time and just coming to peace with it, be kind to yourself. It's something that we always say is show yourself some compassion, some love.
Yeah.
Genuinely holding yourself in a state of angst or not loving or judgmental, whatever it might be, you're not loving yourself the best way you can, and thus you can't move forward.
Yeah. And this is something that we come to in every episode because it's such a universal experience, and it comes back to the negative self-talk and, you know, even our brain and our negative attribution bias and all those things. We are hardwired to see ourselves that way to survive. But we can also challenge that, and we can challenge those knee-jerk reactions. We don't need to see ourselves as a villain. We don't need to see ourselves badly.
Yeah.
We must work harder to give ourselves that compassion and know that we were doing the best that we could in that situation. And in villainizing ourselves and seeing ourselves as a bad person or awful in that situation, we aren't doing anything other than making ourselves worse. We must try better to see ourselves better and remind ourselves that we were doing what we could do. And that's not to say we can't have remorse, and remorse is a human experience, but it's how much you hold on to that and
let it control you.
Judge yourself and let that shape your view of yourself. The fact you can feel remorse shows that you're a decent, good person. If you feel remorseful,
shows the beauty in things, that you have a level head, that you can judge and you can feel and you can make an informed decision. That you can think inwardly, that you can critically think. So it's a good thing to have this remorse as well.
And I think then the final one is transforming regret into action, or changing what might be seen as regret into something that you can turn into action. It lends itself to all of these, and they're definitely not mutually exclusive. They kind of are all interlinked with each other. It goes back to, well, I can't control the past, but what I can control is moving forward. So with my compass, how can I act moving forward? With my remorse and what I've learned and what I feel bad about in terms of upsetting that person or not having done this thing or not gone on that holiday, all I can do is act moving forward. So instead of regretting and longing, what can I move? How can I move? How can I navigate moving forward?
So for example, if you have hurt someone badly and you still, are in this state of judging yourself, when you come to realize that what you can control, reach out and say sorry if you want to, and if you feel like that would benefit you moving forward. But as you were saying, you now have this compass, you've thrown off these chains, you have this compass which can guide you forward. What step do you take? Is it maybe you had that longing to go traveling? Go travel. I know it's easier said than done, but if that's your longing and you have the facilities to do that, take action.
It comes with acceptance of what's happened.
It does.
True acceptance of what's happened, but also then what you can't control, and letting go of that. So in working on what you can control, like we said last week, with when things don't go to plan, it's accepting also what you can't control and accepting what has happened and being at peace with that, so you can then move forward with what you can control and what is in your power, because all we can do is that.
Wow, I've learned a lot from this episode. I'm not even gonna lie. I've learned a lot. That's really insightful. I
really enjoy it.
Me too. This sort of just open reflection, it all peels it apart. It does. I think the one not surprising, but the one thing which I just become to realize more and more is how linked all of our conversations are to these central themes of self-acceptance, self-love, presence, gratitude. I mean, knowing that we have control. It's just there's so many themes underlying there, but I've learned a lot here. How interesting.
It's really enjoyable. I think we did go off on, well, I certainly did go off on a few brain tangents. And I was like, I don't know if this is making sense, but it helps get to the point. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Me too. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Boosted my mood.
I boosted my mood.
We could actually just do that.
I don't know why I was just doing that. Safe distance, bro.
Boosted my mood for sure.
Speaking of boosting a mood,
yes.
Do you have a weekly mood boost for us, Marcus?
Yes, I do. One of our listeners, Kitty, let us know that this is so cool.
It was really cool.
Really, really cool. She is a creative. She does lots of different things, but she's freelance in this space. She styled a music video it was filmed in London but set in Hong Kong. She is from Hong Kong, so that helped.
Really cool.
And she did the costume styling.
Is everything styling?
Styling everything.
Styling everything.
I thought
yeah.
it was just the clothes. Even
that's an example. Everything,
cool.
just the whole stylist.
She won London Music Video Awards Best Styling.
Yeah.
For this music video award. Which
how cool is that?
Really cool.
Awesome.
Also, I watched the videos. Epic.
Like instantly, like I was watching it and instantly, you can't explain it, but it gave off the vibe of the Hong Kong-esque sort of thing, didn't it? Just you sort of got it.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Really cool.
I've not been to Hong Kong, but yeah.
Congratulations, Kitty.
Congratulations, Kitty. Well done.
Well done.
Big mood boost there.
Proud of you. Well done.
Big mood boost.
You?
Me? My weekly mood boost is Ross, our housemate, has finally gotten his car back. If you don't know Ross, he is a character in himself. He's a lovely, lovely person indeed. He very much, his car, I think, so he bought his car recently. Maybe you can tell this better than I can, but he bought his car recently and there was an issue, I think, with the battery or some part of the car, and he had to send the car back. And there was just basically no communication from the car dealership. And Ross being Ross, not hearing any communication, basically took some sheer action.
Yeah, they were just not doing anything, and he's just without a car for 2 weeks and just not telling him anything that was going on. But he'd also, bearing in mind, he'd had the car for several months, asking to bring it in, and they just were ignoring him. Outright ignoring him. So then just kind of took it in and was like, "You're going to take this car," and then didn't have his car for a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's a little mood boost. He got his car back. So...
Oh, there you go. He got his car back. That was my mood boost. Thanks for telling them. Yeah,
you did say, didn't you?
No, not
I
yet.
You started with he got his car back.
Ross got his car back. No, that's my mood boost, guys.
Your woo woos.
My mood boost. No, Ross got his car back yesterday, which is lovely.
Yeah, well done, Ross.
You can drive again. Well done, Ross.
Well done, Ross.
Well done, Ross.
Well,
yeah.
That was sublime.
That was a lovely conversation there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know if you have any regrets in the comments and maybe any remorseful thoughts instead.
Would love to hear.
Would love to hear
counter arguments as to where we've landed on
if they
regret
don't
or lack thereof.
Would
just love to debate this even more.
Always talk about it.
But yes, other than that, have a lovely week ahead. And
do some ASMR whilst I turn
we'll see you on the next one. No regrets.
I'll be sailing
regrets. No point in crying over yesterday. No regrets. No.